Uluscri here. I've just returned from the garden with a basket of world-building ideas, and I thought you might want to have them. Cook them however you please, mix them up, replant the seeds, whatever. I begin with a culture that measures time by plants and animals rather than the stars. Could still have seasons, but they're based on the blooming and leaf-shedding cycles of an important flower. Could have groves where each tree is planted on a certain date every year, and there are plaques by each tree that record the important events for that year. Time groves rather than timelines. A culture with a similar conception of emotions, anger, sadness, happiness, whatever, but with an extra dimension, distance from home. Both physically, anger being thought of differently when you're away from home, and spiritually, being happy but distantly. A universe where space is very small, actually, and planet hopping is much more possible. Fun building materials, like a type of fast-growing crystal that can be shaped into bricks or pillars or whatever else, maybe even whole houses. Or if there's a lot of giant creatures, bone structures in the same way we have wooden structures. Weird-shaped planets. Planes, donuts, pyramids, infinite hyperbolic surfaces, etc., and all the associated implications for each. How would gravity work? Would gravity even? Edible flowers being common in cooking. Imagine how much nicer dishes would look. A philosophy where only a certain number of people can believe in it, and if that number is exceeded, believers must try to convince each other to stop believing while not unconvincing themselves until the number is reached. Multi-soul systems, either physically in the world or just in beliefs. I think about the ancient Egyptian system and the Kesh system from Always Coming Home. What if there was a soul given to you by your parents, a soul for your personality, and a soul for your legacy that lives on through other people, or your children? Or a 4-soul system, one for your gut, one for your heart, one for your mouth, and one for your brain. Weird element systems, like having the 5 fundamental elements for a culture's philosophy be clay, feather, lichen, wool, and poison. Weird world systems, either real or for a culture's religion. I think about the old Norse worlds, or Minecraft's End. Myth archetypes for different cultural gender systems. For instance, systems with 3 major genders wouldn't have heroes and princesses, at least not just those. Fun systems of analogies for the past, present, and future. For instance, in American culture, the past is behind us and the future is in front of us. But some cultures have those swapped. What if the future is inside and the past is outside? Or the past is on Earth and the future is in the stars? A culture where people choose death names that others will use after they pass. 4-dimensional, non-Euclidean, highly intelligent rats and their culture. People's beliefs and feelings affect what happens to them after they die, so you go to the afterlife you believe in and think you deserve, which can have consequences. Leaves don't fall off trees in the fall, but are instead sweetened by the plant to be eaten by animals. Imagine cultures with giant fall feasts with plates of colorful leaves from many tree species. How would architecture, city planning, and fashion have developed had people evolved with large horns or antlers? Giant creatures with cities on their backs that aren't just turtles, like horses, crows, cats, spiders, pigs, centipedes, falcons, etc. On that note, a planet-sized, cosmic horror-esque creature with people living inside it like a sort of microbiome. What if it was an accepted thing that, much like the duels of the past, personal conflicts can be solved with intense games of chess, or whatever the equivalent game is in your con culture? Inspired by Artifexian's Biospec series, a kingdom of animal-like creatures that nonetheless evolved photosynthesis. They move when threatened, but otherwise tend to sit still in high areas with lots of light. Similar, but notably different, a kingdom of plant-like creatures that evolved mobility and some carnivorous behaviors. Their body plans aren't symmetric, and their legs evolved from roots and lower branches. A government ruled by whoever can grow the most impressive garden. People try to seize power by trying to destroy their rivals' gardens. A universe where there are equal amounts of matter and anti-mass matter. Normal matter attracts itself and anti-mass matter attracts itself, but each kind repels the other. Also, they don't explode when they touch. Now imagine two people made of different types of matter who fall in love. A government ruled by artists. Whoever makes the most beautiful art gets to have power that year. A magic system that's basically just universal code, and spells are complex programs. I'm willing to bet that this has absolutely been done before, but here's the idea anyways. A species of bird that acts like ants or termites, and they build massive hill-sized nests. A species of giant colonial bird in the Man-O-War sense, where each bird is actually made of several complete organisms of the same species. A pantheon where the gods really are animals and fully act like the animals they represent, just with access to godlike power. Weather comes from below, not above. There are massive caves and vents where rain, wind, snow, and even lightning can all come from. A new class of material that looks like glass, but is spongy, is incredibly difficult to tear and sounds like metal. A peaceful people whose culture and beliefs are based on volcanoes and rabbits. A culture where having the most compact yet livable home is very prestigious. A river with sparkling purple water that is very spicy unless boiled. A mountain range where each peak is a node for a different aspect of the local magic system. So if you want to do certain things in different magic systems, you have to physically travel between them. A valley full of tall, flowering grass, hummingbirds, softly ringing rocks, dense morning fog, and fireflies that shine blue and green. A forest with very tall, thin trees that grow into each other to support their weight. Imagine complex, many-layered canopies, each with its own microbiome. An ocean that appears very shallow and flat, if you ignore the holes that descend to a huge tunneling cave system full of bioluminescent plants and animals. A universe where space is made of a weird jelly-like substance rather than being mostly vacuum. Maybe the atmosphere physically thickens as you go higher. A culture whose houses are built to be as connected as possible, so that you get mega complexes of buildings that are actually 100 homes. But crucially not like an apartment complex or a skyscraper with living spaces on top of each other. Imagine a low, sprawling building where each house is fully unique. There are plenty of courtyards and common spaces, and new houses can be built into the complex at any time. Writing is primarily done on big, thin sheets of metal like tinfoil, except the foil is extremely hard to tear. A different sun for every season, which is why the seasons are so different. Like a red sun for the hot season, a greenish-yellow sun for the rainy season, a blue sun for the cold season, etc. On that note, really weird seasons. You could have a season with a lot of lightning and ash, but no discernible volcanoes anywhere. Or a season with wildly varying temperatures, where it could vary by 50 degrees Fahrenheit in a single day. Or a season where gravity flips for a time. Maybe the world is two giant planes with massive pillars between them, and houses are built with furniture on the ceiling and floor. Or a season where worms come out of the ground. Not because of rain or anything, just because. This one is courtesy of my partner. A world where accessible memories follow the time of year. For instance, in March, you can only remember things that happened in March, or in summer, you can only remember summer things. Clothing where really colorful but light rocks are woven in with the fabric, sort of like vibrant chainmail, except it's actually wearable every day. A magic system based on painting, where certain colors, patterns, and symbols determine what abilities the painted object has. Doesn't matter what materials are used as long as the colors are present. A fruit that's small, orange, round, tastes like pickles, and has caffeine-like effects. And now for a section I call Art Forms That Could Be Important or Popular. Building structures specifically for the purpose of destroying them in cool ways. The art of balancing things, especially stacked on top of each other. The art of naming things, or alternately of coining new words. The art of making increasingly stranger games, maybe with the added twist that they have to still be enjoyable. Music made exclusively with glass instruments. The art of making the most comfortable spaces possible. The art of making the weirdest but still internally consistent philosophies. The art of negative space sculpture, where the sculpture is the empty space in the rock, so instead of busts you have human-shaped holes. The art of making the worst art possible. Maybe if you do it too well, people appreciate your effort so much that they like the art too much. So there might be a funny sort of balance. Fictional reviews of fictional books. Fictional instruction manuals for fictional things. The art of trimming termite nests as one would trim a hedge. And, that is all for the world building ideas. So, allow me to pop on over to the Corner for Cool Creations for a bit to shout out a bunch of fellow world building video makers, some of whom you've probably heard of. Lipamanca, Dusk and Dawn, Tales of Lost, Eternal Ruins, Project Rose, and Boudcolon. They've all shared some very cool and inspiring pieces of world building, so please check them out. In fact, do check them out. That is my homework for this video. Now, join me at the supporter wall where I will give some special thanks to, using a different mic now because it's later, Abaletian, Donnie the Pony, Unproductiveness, Nick Rosario, Runner Girl Fran, Vert Dirt Runner, and Kadragi for supporting me on Patreon. I really appreciate the help, and it helps me make more time for making videos and writing and such, so just thank you so much. You can find me at my website at uluscri.art, at my Substack, at my itch, and at my Discord server. Oh, and I released a bunch of world building templates, if that interests you. And yeah, that's it, folks. Have fun cooking, planting, writing, and or drawing. And I released a bunch of world building templates. A river with sparkling. No.